Hello everybody, and either welcome or welcome back to my podcast. As always, I'd like to remind everybody, if you do like this, please rate, comment, and subscribe. You can find me on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, and YouTube. Oh boy, where to even start with this one? Obviously, you saw the title of the episode. I'm going to be talking about this whole Brett Kavanaugh situation, which, obviously it's the only thing anybody can talk about right now, but I do want to address it because there's nothing about this whole episode, this whole situation that I don't find deeply disturbing on a deep level. Because this is just so bad. It's so awful. So let's start at the beginning. Just in case you've been living under a rock or you haven't been following this, here's what's going on. Obviously, I'm assuming you know who Brett Kavanaugh is. I talked about this a couple weeks ago during the SCOTUS confirmation. So, obviously, he is the judge that is up for the vacant Supreme Court seat. And what has happened is last Wednesday-ish, like late Tuesday, Wednesday, word kind of got leaked out that Senator Feinstein, who is the ranking Democrat on the Senate Judiciary Committee, had this letter that nobody really knew what was in the letter other than it was something that was damaging to Kavanaugh. And so kind of between about Wednesday and Sunday was just pretty much wall-to-wall speculation as to what exactly is in this letter, like what's going on, what is it about. It kind of got leaked that it was pertaining to a sexual assault, or at least an alleged sexual assault that happened back when he was in high school, but then various versions of the story came out, and this, that, and the other happened. Anyway, on Sunday, the Washington Post posted an interview with the woman who actually is the letter writer. And I would like to first of all say, I called it that this woman was not going to be able to stay anonymous, which is what she had originally wanted in the first place, was she had specifically asked to remain anonymous. And the way things are, like, that's going to be completely impossible. But ultimately what happened is somehow or another BuzzFeed figured out who she is. And so they started showing up on her doorstep. She's a professor, so they started showing up at her school. They started questioning her colleagues. So kind of at that point, you have a choice, basically a gun's being held to your head, and whose finger do you want on the trigger? Do you want yours or do you want somebody else's? So while granted she technically outed herself, she didn't really have a choice in the matter. And I'll discuss that a little bit later, but I kind of wanted to give you like the backdrop and the backstory of how we've kind of gotten to here. So obviously since Sunday, we've known the woman's name. And so it's been this ongoing, insane kind of thing where once she became public, once everybody knew what her name was and you could put a name to the allegation, then the story became, well, now we have to let this woman testify. And so what was supposed to happen is this past Monday was supposed to be the confirmation vote. So they went ahead and delayed the confirmation vote. They set up a new hearing for this coming Monday. And everything between Sunday and today, as of this recording, and let me just go ahead and preface this, that like everything that I'm about to say is of this recording, because this is obviously still an evolving situation. There's still a lot going on. It's still not entirely clear how this is going to pan out. But every day since Sunday has just gotten progressively more and more disturbing and depressing and just gross and horrible and awful. And I am so ready for this to be over, but it's not going to be over anytime soon. But I want to go ahead and I want to read this directly from the Washington Post story, so that you can kind of get an idea of the timeline that we're looking at as far as when Feinstein knew what she knew and what happened since she knew. So let me go ahead and pull that up real quick. Okay, so per this woman, her name is Christine Blasey Ford. This is the timeline as to kind of how this all went down as far as her sending this letter in and kind of how it all went down. So let me go ahead and get to the right point here. Okay. She contacted the Post, which actually, let me back up for a second. She actually did contact the Washington Post around the same time as she sent these letters. And Washington Post reached out to her, but because she wasn't willing to go on record publicly, there wasn't really anything they could do with it. So that's how we got to the letter writing. So here we go. She contacted the Post through a tip line in early July, when it had become clear that Kavanaugh was on the short list of possible nominees to replace retiring Justice Anthony M. Kennedy, but before Trump announced his name publicly. A registered Democrat who had made small contributions to political organizations. Who cares? She contacted her Congresswoman, Democrat Anna G. Eshoo, around the same time. In late July, she sent a letter to via Issue's office to Senator Dianne Feinstein of California, the ranking Democrat on the Judiciary Committee. In the letter, which was read to the Post, Ford described an incident and said that she expected her story to be kept confidential. She signed the letter as Christine Blasley, the name she uses professionally. Now, I bring that up for two reasons. A, to establish the timeline that Feinstein had this letter in late July. It's not like she just got this last week. She's known about it, and she did not choose to take any action at the time when she received the letter. She did not turn it over to the FBI. She didn't do anything. In fact, up until this whole story leaked, nobody even knew this letter existed. Like, she didn't show it to anybody on the Judiciary Committee. She didn't show it to anybody else, any of the Senate Democrats or any other senators. Like, nobody even fucking knew about the existence of this letter. So she had it in her possession. She sat on it and waited all this time, and then somehow, magically, as if just I don't know how this could possibly have happened, but now, after all the private interviews were done, private hearings, public hearings, everything, this leaks. So, come on, guys, you know what this is. But it is important to bring up that, obviously, she knew about it, and at no point did she ever question Kavanaugh directly, either privately or publicly, in any venue, about this letter. So that tells you how seriously she took it before leaking it, which I don't care. You can make whatever argument you want. There was a very finite amount of people who even knew this letter existed. So obviously it came from somewhere. So it either came from her or her office. And that is just, that's so insane to me. And actually, to add to that point, according to the Senate Judiciary's Twitter feed, which, yes, the Senate Judiciary has a Twitter feed, which is another insane, ridiculous thing I've learned following this story, she has still not released the letter to the Judiciary Committee for them to review. So they still haven't seen the letter. Like, nobody outside of Eshoo and Feinstein's office have actually physically read the letter and the contents of it. Even at this point, even after now she's been outed, she's already told her story, she still has not released this letter to the Judiciary Committee. And this hearing is supposed to happen on Monday. Monday, people! Like, what are you doing? Just let them see the letter now at this point. Like, it's already out there. She's already told her story. Like, anonymity is gone. Like, you don't have that cover anymore of saying, well, I'm trying to protect her identity. Because it's out there. So go ahead and hand over the stupid fucking letter. Alright. So that's where we're at right now, at this point, on Thursday. Obviously, this hearing is supposed to be happening on Monday. It's a bit up in the air about who is or is not going to be there. Don't know yet if Ford is testifying or not. It's really up in the air. Kavanaugh has unequivocally said, yeah, I'll be there. I'll answer whatever questions you want. And whether they're calling any other witnesses to this, or this person or that person, nobody really knows who the fuck is going to be there on Monday. But apparently this hearing is happening on Monday. So, there we are. That's where we're at. Now, I kind of want to talk about my feelings on this whole situation, because I have quite a lot of them. And I want to start with how Dianne Feinstein has handled this. Like I said, it's blatantly obvious to me that her office leaked this. Like, there's no other place they could have really gotten this from. To do that is just, I don't have words strong enough to describe how fucked up that is to take something like this. Like, even whether you believe Ford's accusations or not, what Feinstein had in front of her was a letter detailing a sexual assault. I'm assuming the details of the sexual assault are in the letter. And also point blank asking her, please do not make this public. Do not put my name out there. I want to do this anonymously. And she knew the woman's name because she signed the letter with her name. But then to take that and to sit on it and to do nothing with it, to not ask a single fucking question at any point during even pre-confirmation interviews or confirmation hearings. I mean, you could have did this privately. Like, you didn't have to do it in the public hearing. All she had to do was pick up the phone and call Kavanaugh and be like, look, I got this letter. The woman has requested that I not release her name, but this is the contents of the letter. She says that you attempted to sexually assault her back in high school. Would you like to address this privately? Because she is asking to remain anonymous. That's all she had to do. I mean, she's the ranking Democrat on the Senate Judiciary Committee. She had the right to do that at any point and chose not to. She sat on this and then released it to do this ridiculous, stupid, fucking cheap political stunt, which I can't get over it. I don't think I'm ever going to get over knowing that somebody is that cold and that cruel to ruin somebody's life for over a cheap political stunt. And that's basically what's happened to Ford, because obviously God, this whole thing is so gross. Like, it just makes me want to take a shower. It really does. Just the idea that, and not even like one woman doing it to another woman, but anybody doing it to anybody. Like, you were given this information in confidence and you were asked to keep it in confidence and you didn't. And now it's out there. Now everybody knows this woman's name. She's getting death threats. She's getting God knows what. I mean, it's insane. Like, you did this. You ruined somebody's life over just stupid shit. Like, honestly, really, this is really beyond the pale. Like, I'm pretty damn cynical when it comes to politics and political moves, but this is some shit you don't do. You don't fuck up somebody's life over something like this. It's so wrong. It's so crass. It's so cynical. It's just a complete disregard for the fact that you're dealing with another human being who placed her confidence in you, and you basically just threw her under the bus. And Feinstein had to know this would happen. Like, nobody living in our current age would possibly think that you can release this letter or release rumors of this letter and not know that this is the end game. And so I view this as Feinstein wanting to do something, wanting to basically force this woman to go on record. So she basically kind of maneuvered the media into doing her dirty work for her. Because like I said, there's no way you cannot know that this would have happened. That once even like the existence of this letter became public, of course she's going to be hunted down. And I would like to know how BuzzFeed found out who she is and where to find her, but that's another story for another day. It's just, Feinstein deserves so much pushback for this and so much criticism, and she's not getting any. And it's, wow. That's so low. It's so low, and nobody's giving her shit for it. And my God, please don't ever let anything ever come out of this woman's mouth again about supporting other women or supporting victims of sexual assault or anything like that, because no, you don't. You will throw somebody the fuck under the bus the first time you get a chance to if you think it's going to advance your political agenda, and fuck what happens to that person's life, apparently. It's just so cruel. It was fucking cruel. Like, it did not need to happen like this. But it did, and now this woman's life is pretty much ruined. Because now everybody knows, and everybody's going to look at you like, oh, you're the woman that accused Brett Kavanaugh of attempted sexual assault, and now that's going to be her for forevermore. It's sad, really. It's really sad. But moving forward with that, something, like, there's so much of this particular case that touches on so many other things that are going on in society right now. And the first thing that I kind of want to talk about is how this kind of jibes with our current Me Too Title IX kind of situation going on. And that I'm really sad that this was handled in this way and not in the way of maybe having this conversation back in July or even August or sometime that's not right fucking now. Because there is a conversation that needs to have about how exactly does one adjudicate this kind of stuff. Like, if you have an accusation against somebody, and this accusation is decades on decades on decades old, like, okay, it's gross. Like, if he actually did this, that's an awful shitty thing to do to somebody. But what are you supposed to do with this information? Like, how... Like, where do you go from here? Like, obviously, from a legal sense, there's nothing you can do. You're way past the statute of limitations. There's not going to be any kind of physical evidence brought forward. I mean, what are you supposed to do? Like, you're basically just leaving it to the court of public opinion. And, I mean, the current situation is so toxic that you're not going to have anybody sit down and, like, rationally think this one through. So, I wish this had been done differently so that maybe a conversation about how to handle this could have been done in a more rational fashion. And we could have used this conversation to kind of apply it more, especially towards like Title IX cases, because obviously like Title IX cases, you don't have accusations from like 35 years ago, but usually it's accusations that are anywhere from days to months to years after the whatever happened took place. Like, I was reading one the other day where a lady came back after 5 years and said that this particular sexual encounter was a rape. And that's like, what are you supposed to do with that? It's basically just he said, she said at that point. And we need to figure out a way that you can discuss these things and adjudicate these things while being fair to both parties, because right now it is insanely unfair how these Title IX cases are treated, especially towards the men, because it's basically just assumed that you're guilty. Basically, you're guilty until proven innocent, and you can't really prove yourself innocent, so you're guilty. And like I said, I wish we could have had that conversation. I wish this could have been used as a way to have that conversation on a national level and everybody can kind of sit down and figure out where to go from here. But obviously that didn't happen. And then kind of branching off of that and grappling with the fact that in this case, much like a lot of the Title IX cases, we're never really going to know what happened. There's only 3 people who were in the room, and 2 of them said it didn't happen. 1 of them said it did happen. And barring any kind of blockbuster evidence that's floating around in the ether somewhere, which, if it's there, I wish somebody would hurry the fuck up with it and go ahead and present it so that we can possibly know one way or the other. Because, I mean, I've seen rumors going both ways anyway, but the reality is we're likely never really going to know what happened. And that's not a super satisfying conclusion. It's not one that a lot of people are going to accept, but it's one that I think people need to start getting acclimated to, that especially if you're going to start adjudicating these cases where it is a he said, she said sort of thing, you're not ever really going to know. But based on that, reopening the confirmation hearing. Okay, I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. Because I understand where, like, on principle, you pretty much have to, because you have to give both Kavanaugh and Ford and whoever else shows up the chance to speak on record about these accusations. Like, that's his legal right, first and foremost. I mean, he has a right to due process. He has a right to face his accuser. He has the right to ask questions. But, oh my God, you guys know. You know what this is going to look like. If she does testify, you know what's going to happen. I know what's going to happen. And I don't have the heart to watch that. Like, I don't have it in me. I don't want to watch. Like, I don't want to see it because it's going to be as bad as the confirmation hearings were with grandstanding and people trying to make a point and trying to get their 15 minutes. This is going to be that, but you're doing it on the back of somebody who is claiming to be a victim of sexual assault. And that's just, I can't do that. I can't watch people trash somebody who's a victim. And like I said, it's whether you believe the accusations or not, this is going to go just full disgusting. And I don't want to know. I don't want to watch it. I don't want any part of it, but I do understand why it has to happen. But that being said, it still might not happen because, again, we don't quite know if Ford is willing to testify yet at this point or not. She initially said that she would, but then the next day she changed her story and said that she wanted to wait until after the FBI did an investigation, which, first of all, I would also like to have credit for saying that I called her not testifying. I called it on Twitter and I'm still standing by it. I don't think she's going to testify. I don't think it's going to happen. But this whole idea that's being floated right now that the FBI needs to do an investigation, I'm just like, what the fuck? Who put that idea in anybody's head? Attempted sexual assault is not a federal crime, so the Federal Bureau of Investigation is not going to do an investigation. And they've already said so repeatedly, but there's still so many people clinging to that line. And it's just like, we've already explained this to you. That's not happening. So move on. It's not happening. But as far as her not testifying or testifying on a more like kind of personal level, I'm of two minds of the topic. Like I said, I don't think she's going to do it, mainly because you're invoking this FBI investigation that's not going to exist. But here's my thing. Yes, Kavanaugh has a right to question his accuser, obviously. And if you're going to accuse somebody of something, you should have to answer questions on it. Here's my thing, though. I would feel a lot differently about this if she had 100% of her own volition decided to out herself. And she didn't. She's basically forced to do it because of this insane, stupid fucking situation that Feinstein put her in. So, my question is, how much do you owe to a system that you purposely, specifically, explicitly said you did not want to be part of? Like, what does she owe anybody at this point? And that's my question. It's like, I would understand if she just point blank said, I don't want to testify because I made it perfectly clear that I have no interest in having my name on the record. I don't want to be part of this. I never wanted to be part of this. So I'm not testifying. I would respect that more than hiding behind like this cockamamie FBI excuse. But it's a tough one for me. It really is, because I don't like the position she's been put in. I don't think that's right. I don't think it's fair. I think Feinstein really fucked her over, and so I'm kind of somewhat a bit sympathetic to this woman. I really am. I don't know. Maybe it's misplaced. Maybe I will feel differently tomorrow. But as it stands right now, I kind of feel bad for her, because she's been put in a situation that she didn't want to be in, and specifically said she didn't want to be in, but everybody decided that she needed to go be in it for this stupid fucking political stunt. And I feel bad. I do. I feel bad for the woman. Okay, moving on from Ford to something that I do have a lot more vitriol towards, and that's how Feinstein and the Democrats have played this situation. And outside of the obvious of what I've already discussed about Feinstein outing a potential alleged victim of sexual assault, there's just been something about this that just didn't sit well with me. And it finally occurred to me the other day. And that's that it's becoming obvious to me and becoming obvious to a lot of other people that Democrats never expected it to go this far. They never expected for it to get to the point where there would be another hearing. And I say that because it dawned on me that was never the point of this. Like, the point of this whole exercise was never to actually reopen the hearings and have Kavanaugh speak and have Ford speak and have other witnesses speak. The point of the exercise was to shame him into going away. And now that it's abundantly obvious that Kavanaugh is not falling for it, he's basically said, like I said, he's willing to answer questions anytime, any place. Trump isn't going for it. He's not rescinding his nomination, which, I mean, Mr. Grab him by the pussy was not going to rescind his nomination for this. And then Senate Republicans were more than happy to say, okay, we'll delay the vote. We'll have another hearing. We'll give you your say. And then ever since all of that happened, ever since he didn't cave, ever since he didn't eliminate himself, it's been one excuse after another, after another, after another for why this hearing can't happen. And it's just, it occurred to me. It dawned on me. Senate Democrats just took a page out of the online SJW handbook. They tried to do the thing IRL that people do to other people online. You tried to smear this dude. You tried to hurl baseless allegations towards him in order to shame him to the point where he took himself out of the conversation. And he called your bluff. That's what happened. And now they're scrambling because they didn't expect for it to go this far. They didn't expect for Republicans to be like, yeah, okay, we'll delay the vote. We'll open up the hearings. We'll do exactly what you're asking for. They didn't expect Kavanaugh to dig in. And it's just like, once I realized that, I was just like, holy shit, this is worse than I thought, because that's, wow. Like, I don't even have words for that either. You tried to do the thing that SJWs do to people online. Senate Democrats, people in Congress, tried to do this to a Supreme Court judge nominee. Jesus Christ. It sucks that Kavanaugh is the hill here, because yes, these allegations are very gross. No, attempted sexual assault, even if you are underage, even if you are drunk, is not okay. But here's the thing. I'm not okay with the idea that he should either eliminate himself or anything to that extent, or that that Trump should disnominate him and put somebody else in, because anything along those lines is a win for that kind of mentality, that you can do that to someone, that you can just shame somebody and never have to be called out on it and never have to defend it because you've made that person disappear. And I'm not okay with that. I don't condone that. And I've seen lots of people say it. Lots of very smart people say that obviously the practical thing would be for Kavanaugh to either drop out or for Trump to replace him with a different nominee. And I'm just like, no, you can't cede that ground on this, because if you do, that becomes the standard going forward. And yes, Kavanaugh has this questionable thing in his past. Do not think for a second that if it was anybody else sitting in that seat waiting to be confirmed who was a conservative judge would not be going through the same thing right now. There would have been something. If it wasn't an attempted sexual assault when you were in high school, it would be, I don't know, some shit you said 20 years ago, or you were at this one place with these other people, or something, this, that, or the other. This was always going to be the game. And you do not let people win this game. There has to start being pushback on this. Because, like I said, this cannot be the standard going forward. It cannot. It cannot be allowed to be the standard going forward. And it just, even doing it, even ceding that ground for practical reasons, it's ceding the ground. And no, just no. And even if you do feed Kavanaugh to the wolves, you're not appeasing these people. You're making it to where now they know they can do that. This shit has to stop. And if the buck has to stop here with Kavanaugh, okay, I'll take that. I will take that over the alternative. As much as I don't really like this particular situation, I will take it over the alternative. Okay. That's what... God, there's so much here. Like, there's so much to unpack because it's just this whole week has been disgusting. It's really just been insanely just... The things that have been said and the things that have been done are just so beyond the pale. Like, I've had a hard time wrapping my mind around this week, to be completely honest. Like, this has been some low-ass shit. Speaking of low-ass shit that's been going on this week, the takes. The takes, people. The awful, horrible, ridiculous takes that people have had on this situation. And on one hand, I will say this is a very hard one to take any kind of decent stance on, because you either have to, actually, let me back that up. Before I even say those words, no, you don't have to defend what Kavanaugh allegedly did, which is the first thing. You do not have to try to be an apologist for if somebody was 17 years old and drunk and potentially sexually assaulted someone. You don't have to think of a way to explain that or normalize it or to put butts on it or asterisks. No, you can just accept that that is really disgusting behavior that nobody should ever have to stand up for, because Kavanaugh has flatly denied ever doing it. So, please, people, if you have it in you to try to explain this away as being youthful or drunk or whatever, please fucking stop doing that, because you don't have to. He flatly denied doing it. It's not like you have to defend him like he admitted to doing it. Stop that! It's fucking gross! Stop! Please! It's so bad. And just even beyond that, people who want to smear this man are going to do it. Just the sheer lack of anybody actually listening to anything factual in regards to this should not be surprising to me, and it's not, but just the level of it has been insane. Like, things that have been proven to be factually wrong keep getting repeated over and over and over again, and it's like, how many times do you have to be told? Like, you can't be ignorant of the fact that you've been smacked down and told that you are factually incorrect. So, at this point, I just have to assume that you're willing to lie for the sake of lying to prove your point, which... Fuck. No. Stop. Please. You're killing us pragmatists. Stop it. It hurts at this point. And we've even gotten to the point where I've seen people tweet about, oh, look, Brett Kavanaugh got drunk at a baseball game one time. Oh, look, Brett Kavanaugh was part of a fraternity, which, when he wasn't part of the fraternity, when he wasn't actually on campus, they did some fucked up, dumb, panty flag thing. And then I saw one take today, which is like, this is why I really need this vote to just hurry up and happen. Somebody wrote a piece about how guys who attend elite schools tend to be kind of dickish, and Brett Kavanaugh attended an elite school, so he's probably kind of dickish. And it's like, what the fuck? What the fuck does this have to do with anything? This means nothing. Like, this is serious shit, and people are treating it like it's a fucking game. Like, stop, please. But the absolute worst, and I will link it in the show notes because it's so bad. Like, it's so bad, you have to read it. But the Dennis Prager piece that he did for Town Hall, which basically, to sum it up, is that we should ignore these claims against Kavanaugh, because if we lived in a Judeo-Christian society, we wouldn't even be having this conversation, because of course you don't judge people based on what they did when they were teenagers. And then also, yeah, dudes grope women and women just need to figure out a way to deal with it, which is just like, what the actual fuck? I cannot begin to stress to you guys how many times I have said, what the actual fuck, in the last week in regards to the whole Kavanaugh thing. It's gotten so far out of field, and it's going to get worse because today is Thursday and the hearing is not until Monday, which means I still have like 3 more days of this shit to try to make it through. And that's even if it happens on Monday, which I'm kind of hoping it does, because I don't know how much more of this I can take. Speaking of not knowing how much more of this I can take, and hot takes, and absolute fucking ridiculousness about this, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up this particular little episode. This woman right here, her name is Christina King Miranda. She decided, nobody asked her, nobody fucking asked her opinion on a goddamn thing. She decides to hop up on Facebook and Twitter and put out there that, oh yeah, this totally happened. Like, the school was talking about it. Like, everybody in school was talking about it. We know this happened. And, okay, first of all, obviously, that directly contradicts what Ford said to the Washington Post, which she said that she told nobody about the incident, and that she really didn't ever talk about it in any kind of public forum, which still wasn't a public forum. But in 2012, apparently, she was in a therapy session, and she mentioned that this incident had happened, but she didn't mention anybody by name. And then later on, I guess, I forget if it was a different therapy session or if she'd mentioned it to her husband, then she said Kavanaugh's name. So, first of all, no, the fucking school wasn't talking about it because nobody said anything. Like, okay, the one person that's gone on record has said, I didn't say anything. The other 2 people on record have said, this never fucking happened. So, nobody was fucking talking about a damn thing. But she decided to go ahead, hop up on social media, post all that shit up. Obviously, the internet lost its shit because, I mean, for obvious reasons. And then she had the audacity to delete everything, obviously, and then put up that she felt empowered to make those posts and that they did their job and that she didn't think that anybody would, like, I don't know, call her from, I don't know, the press or the Senate Judiciary Committee to see if maybe she would like to go on record and have an interview specifying anything that she claimed. And I'm just like, you've got to be fucking kidding me right now. Like, this is so... You've got... Get the fuck out of here with this shit. Honestly. Like, you started shit on social media. That's all she wanted to do, is start some shit on social media. And then the minute somebody questioned her about it, you want to run away, and then you want to pretend to be fucking indignant? Like, somehow nobody was supposed to question you on this? I'm like, what the fuck? There's so much what the fuck. Just, oh my god. Like, I'm so done. So done with this, and I still have 3 more days to go, and I just, let's just hope I make it through. Alright, moving on. Because I have 2 very serious points that I want to make before I wrap up this episode. And the first one is this idea that I've seen floated. I've seen it in relationship to Kavanaugh, but I've also seen it in relationship to other men who get accused of sexual assault. And that's this idea that, LOL, all he has to lose is a job. Which, fuck you, first of all. Second of all, the whole reason these sorts of allegations are getting weaponized, and I think this is weaponizing sexual assault allegations at this point. The whole reason you do that is because there is so much at stake for men who get even accused of sexual assault. If it was just something as simple as losing your job, like, nobody would give a shit. Like, nobody would waste their time doing that. The point is, when you get accused as a man of sexual assault, not even necessarily charged, convicted, anything like that, just having it out there, it destroys your life. People have gotten careers memory hold over this. Your reputation is trashed. Nobody wants to talk to you anymore. Nobody wants to work with you anymore. Everything you've done up until that point, fuck it, forget it, it's gone. And it's so, to say that all he has to lose is a job, it's like, no, you're either being willfully ignorant, or you really don't understand what it is to put that scarlet R on a man's chest. Because even if you're found innocent, that shit stays there for life. Like, if you go and Google any of the Duke lacrosse players' names, like, if an employer wanted to Google them, what do you think the first thing is going to be that comes up? Oh, he was one of those Duke lacrosse players. Like, this shit stays with you for life. And that's why you don't play with this. You do not throw that out there. You do not accuse a man of sexual assault unless you are 100% serious about it. Is this not a game? It's not a game. It's not funny. It's not some shit you do for a cheap political stunt or to get revenge on somebody or anything like that, because you're playing with fire. You're playing with something that has the potential to ruin somebody's life. So, no, it's not that simple. Especially in this current environment. I mean, you never at any point in time should you ever falsely accuse somebody of sexual assault, but especially right now, like, it's just no, don't do that. Don't ruin somebody's life like that. That's wrong. It's wrong. But the second very important point I want to make before we leave is this idea of believe all women. Okay, into the nose, out through the mouth. I, nor any other woman, should get a pass on anything because of our gender. Straight up. That's not equality. Just because I have a vagina and I say something does not mean that I am not subject to criticism, does not mean that I am not subject to having to defend the words that came out of my mouth. No, you should not blanket believe me. You wouldn't blanketly believe all men, do you? Like, oh, that guy's got a penis, so I should just automatically believe everything that comes out of his mouth. Then you shouldn't treat women that way either. And anybody who advocates for that, that's not equality. I don't want to be held to a different standard than a man. I want to be held to the same standard. I don't need a special standard. I don't need somebody to condescend to me, which that's exactly what that is. It's condescending as fuck. It's basically like patting somebody on the head and being like, oh, okay, of course we believe you. Like, I don't need that. No woman needs that. No woman should want that. If you really genuinely believe in equality of the sexes, you should be so against this whole believe all women bullshit, because it's not, it's holding you to this softer standard that you would not hold a man to. And it just royally pisses me off every time I see somebody say that. Women are not these sad, delicate, fragile little creatures who need special dispensation and special rules and special handling to make it through life. Fuck you. No, we don't. I don't. I don't need them. I don't want them. I want to be judged on the same level. I want to be held to the same standards. I can't. I can't with this. This is all Matthew Dowd's fault with his stupid fucking tweet. God damn it. Anyway, that's it. We're gonna wrap this up now. I promise. If you've made it this far, as always, thank you. And if you do like it, please rate, comment, and subscribe. You can find me on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Spotify, and YouTube. Take care, and until next time.